here's the thing with the story though, you need performances. You need fantastic performances because you need people to tell that story. And we're gonna go over into these performances of each character. So I'm gonna start off with Robert Pattinson and how I felt like his Batman slash Bruce Wayne. It's okay. You're gonna be able to give your input on that. and this is and this is from someone who's been a casual fan of Robert Pattinson. I sincerely like he's changed my mind obviously now. And bad thing is that he had such a weird reputation following his performances in Twilight, and everybody kind of put him in that box of, oh, you're just a vampire boy with shiny abs.
Twilight boy.
Exactly. So even including myself, I will admit, like I wasn't too keen on him being cast as Bruce Wayne or Batman at first, but then we saw Tenet. Tenet was fantastic. His performance in that was just, oh my gosh, like I came to a conclusion, and it was the wrong conclusion about Robert Pattinson. And then I saw him here as Bruce Wayne. This Bruce Wayne is completely different from anything you've seen, because in a really good way. So usually Bruce Wayne is played either as the playboy, the rich playboy, right? Or he's secluded, or he just doesn't want to be around people, which is kind of includes in secluded. But with Robert Pattinson's Batman and Bruce, he legit was secluded. Like he just didn't want to be out there, because Bruce Wayne is the philanthropy in the comics. Philanthropist, sorry. And he's always doing charity work, and he's always in the limelight, in the spotlight and everything. But this Bruce specifically by Robert Pattinson, he didn't want any of that. He didn't care. And there was interactions between him and Alfred where Alfred tried to push him to be like his dad, to be a philanthropist, but he didn't want to, because he just wanted to be away from everybody. And I think that was an interesting way of bringing that character to life. And all the props to Robert Pattinson. He did fantastic as Bruce. And let's be real here. He was my favorite Batman. I love Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, everybody, even Ben Affleck. But Robert Pattinson killed it. Robert Pattinson was fantastic. I loved his performances, his fighting sequences, his everything, the way it was choreographed, all of that, fantastic. I want your take on his Bruce Wayne / Batman.
Your favorite?
Yes.
Them some big words right there.
I know.
Big words.
He had big shoes to fill too. Like, he might be my favorite.
Now, I kind of, again, not to sound repetitive, but I kind of agree with pretty much everything he just said. And again, I'm sure we'll come to a point here eventually where we'll have slightly differing opinions and ideas. But as of now, like, he is brilliant. And the thing is, I don't think he had a Bruce Wayne in this, actually.
Really?
So the Bruce Wayne persona, the outside of the suit persona, I didn't feel like it was Bruce Wayne. He has this other persona in the comics.
I know who you're talking about. Is it like the?
He kind of goes around in the streets.
Yes, like a homeless type of.
Like a homeless, and he gets information while being down in the streets, and nobody really knows because he looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit gruffier look.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what I saw most of the time when he wasn't wearing the suit. I saw that persona, and it's like you said, Alfred was trying to push him to be more of a philanthropist, just like his father, to be more out there, to be a Wayne. But it wasn't just, I didn't see it as him just wanting to be alone. But to me, it felt like he didn't even see what the purpose of a Bruce Wayne was. Like, it didn't feel like he even thought, like he never thought that Bruce Wayne could be used in any way that could be meaningful.
Yeah. Like
his other persona or Batman, which I feel like he finds that actually makes a difference when he's out there. And one thing I thought was fantastic was that throughout this film, he is finding a purpose for Bruce Wayne. He is the Batman, but he is discovering Bruce Wayne within him.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And honestly, that's one of the reasons why he is so phenomenal, because we've never seen a Batman Bruce Wayne dynamic in that way. It's always been more Bruce Wayne discovering the Batman within himself, and then suddenly the Batman taking over. But it's never been the Batman finding the Bruce Wayne.
That's true. That's very true.
Right?
Because that's very true. Because like you said, Alfred tried to push him to be like his father, but he's not his father. He's a Bruce Wayne. He has the name of Bruce Wayne, but he's not fully developed into the character that we're usually used to.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
One of the many reasons why he is so phenomenal. Now, Robert Pattinson, I was first introduced to him in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and he was phenomenal in that.
Yeah.
And then Twilight.
Twilight,
Twilight, boy. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know that, that's from the John Campea show.
Oh my
Shout
God.
out, they're fantastic if anyone checks them out. But yeah, that's where I got it from. Like he was just like you. Like when it was first announced, he didn't know Robert Pattinson's work that well.
Yeah.
So he was like, Twilight, boy. Like he didn't see him as anything besides Edward the Vampire, which granted that was a huge part of his career, so it's understandable. I went ahead and I followed their careers beyond Twilight, because I had seen both of them in work prior to Twilight and enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And honestly, even way before Tenet, like in 2016, he was in this film called Good Times.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who hasn't seen that, that is a side of Robert Pattinson that I don't think anyone would have expected to see. He plays one of the most unlikable characters in recent film, and he still finds a way to make you compelled in his story. It's phenomenal. That was one of the first films that really made me see him as not just an actor, but a genuine performer, an artist of acting in a way.
Of course.
Honestly, since then he just built up more and more different eclectic work, like in The Lighthouse, most recently in that horror film.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, that's another side. It's like he's got a completely different persona. You see Robert Pattinson, but you don't see Robert Pattinson. he becomes the characters that he's really passionate about, and that's one thing I enjoyed about him, and that's one thing why I feel like his Batman is so different. Like again, just same as you said, no offense to any of the prior Batmans, you know, Adam West is perfect, you know, it's fantastic. Of course, you got Michael Keaton, who was phenomenal, and just like Robert Pattinson, blew everyone's expectations away, because no one expected that from Michael Keaton back then.
Of course. Yes, definitely. But we're gonna move on now, because we have.
He wasn't the only fantastic performance in there.
No, not at all.
We got the phenomenal and ever so elegant, and honestly, kind of an underrated actress.
Yes, Zoe Kravitz. I gotta give her props. One, she's so classy. Ooh, she's so classy. Just Selena Kyle, aka Zoe Kravitz. Reverse that, Zoe Kravitz, aka Selena Kyle. She was just fantastic. Like,
she's just that good. You mix them up.
Yeah, I can't speak, but no, she
got your tongue.
But yeah, so yeah, just she was fantastic. She was the polarizing persona from Bruce.
One of two.
Yes. She brought that spice to Bruce's life, and they had that connection. He had that connection before actually like talking to her and all of that. So when they finally actually connected, she was definitely more into it, but Bruce was definitely like, hey, like I like you, like this is, without saying it, like he was just more into her, and I'm pretty sure that she was into him, just that you can tell that the connection that he had with her was a little bit more.
I think what my friend's trying to say is
I'm
that
rambling
they had practically
on amazing
chemistry.
I am rambling on because she's just that good. I'm so sorry.
The moment that they first see each other in the club was so, like, you felt the sparks as soon as they met eyes with each other. Yes. It was just like,
yes, just like, so she kept her look on him, and you can tell that he's like he was intrigued, like who is this, and why should she just catch my attention? Because it's like I said, it's very rare for Bruce to be, you know, that open or vulnerable with somebody. So when he finally had a connection or was intrigued by her, obviously he wanted to know more. She did fantastic. The way, just the sassiness and just the elegance all mixed in together was amazing. The way she wore that Catwoman suit. Oh, I'm gonna calm down now. But oh my gosh, I definitely recommend watching the movie, not just for Robert Pattinson and everybody else, but Zoe Kravitz, fantastic. She's great. She's great. What do you think about it?
Honestly, with all the different adaptations of Celine Kyle, and everyone has been fantastic, she found a different sort of sensuality and sexuality to it, because that's one thing that they've all found their own ways of bringing that out. But the way that Zoe Kravitz brings it out in Celine Kyle is sort of it has a similar duology to the way that Robert Pattinson's Batman with his Bruce Wayne sort of have. But it's more like she's already found herself and she's accepted that side of her, while Bruce is still struggling with which side to truly accept. And like I said, at the same time, he's finally discovering that Bruce Wayne side of him.
Yeah.
She's already found that Selena Kyle. She's accepted it. Is it basically the question between their chemistry and their connection, and is he willing to do what she is as well? And that's one of the things that I thought worked so well with her character, is that she is a side, just like this one part of Bruce Wayne's persona, Batman's persona in a sense. But she's more than that. She's her own character. It's just that she's used throughout the film to mirror the darker side that he can lean towards if he doesn't have one of the other characters that we'll talk about as well.
Yeah, definitely. She was fantastic. Just, oh my gosh. But we also got to talk about our next character, because this man, we're going to talk about Colin Farrell's Penguin, because holy crap, this man. Whoa. Okay, so would you like to lead on this with this one?
First of all, we've talked about how amazing Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz were.
Yes.
And they were phenomenal in every scene that they were in. But when I say that Colin Farrell's Penguin stole every scene that he was in, he brought this different side of the Penguin that I have not seen before. He was actually charming.
Yeah.
Even with his
face.
With his little nose and whatnot.
Yes.
It's not over the top, but you could still see that it was a little odd.
Yeah.
And with all the scarring on his face, it just made him more sort of like you don't want anything to do with this guy. But at the same time, in his very first introduction, he had like a good like 2-minute monologue or so, where the camera did not break away from him whatsoever. And when I tell you, my jaw was dropped. I couldn't hear Colin Farrell. I couldn't see Colin Farrell. He was the Penguin at that moment. Yeah,
definitely. And what I also liked is that, so in Batman Forever, was it Batman Forever?
Batman Forever with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, so Batman's Forever, the Penguin in that movie specifically,
Danny
DeVito killed it.
He really did.
Fantastic. Like, he's memorable. He's definitely one of those villains that I grew up with in my childhood, and he is definitely someone that I really liked. What I liked about this specific Penguin is that they didn't make him a freak of nature like how they did in the 92 version, which there's nothing wrong with the 92 version, because that's a little bit more accurate to the comic books. So
this guy with his gangster.
So I felt like this Penguin was more gangster, like more American gangsters type of thing. Like I felt he was more, would I even dare say, like more like Al Pacino type of stuff. Like,
I could definitely see that kind of an Al Pacino vibe in this movie.
Exactly. So he was definitely more Al Pacino-esque than,
but not scenery chewing Al Pacino. More like subtle charm Pacino.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, instead of just full on freak, I feel like he was little by little going into the freak of nature's type of character.
Yes.
So I felt like this was more of his origin story, but without the full on origin, and it felt more more raw and more, I would say, relatable than 92's version, because 92's version, this man was eating raw fish.
Okay, now that's something where I'm gonna disagree just slightly. I would not say that Colin Farrell's is more relatable. Granted, he doesn't eat raw fish like DeVito's. But one thing I did enjoy about DeVito's is that you have more of a backstory to why he is the way he is. And you see that he had a horrible relationship with his parents. Horrible.
Yeah.
Didn't he end up killing them?
Yeah.
Horrible.
I think they'd be right.
But even before he killed them, it was horrible. Like, they treated him like a monstrosity. They literally left him out in the sewage to just live there because they just couldn't stand the way he looked, and that's very Spartan. But like that, well, again, like I said, that's very Spartan of them to do to him.
Yeah.
But the reason I feel like that's more relatable, besides the nasty, disgusting side of him, is because he just feels like somebody who was forced into this lonely position and not chosen it like Batman has. Like Bruce Wayne has chosen to live that lonely, secluded life, but he was forced into it, and he's trying to bring himself back into the light and be one with the community.
Yeah.
But this version of Penguin, he doesn't want anything to do with that. He doesn't care what anybody thinks about him.
Yeah.
Which is one of the ruthless things I really enjoyed about him.
Yeah.
But he wasn't just ruthless, which is what I enjoyed. He had this charming dexterity to him that was very strangely like inviting.
Yeah.
But you get too close, and his little beak might just bite you.
And you're gonna be one of those raw fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that worked.
But yeah, he was phenomenal in it, and it was insane to see Colin Farrell go this direction. I've seen him in quite a few different films, and I've seen some interesting performances of his. Like, I'm sure everyone knows that 2008's in Bruges, phenomenal in that one. He played this like sort of hysterical, depressed hitman who just doesn't want to be doing what he does anymore.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. If you've never seen it, he's great in that. But like, you've got these different sides of him that you've seen: the pretty boy, the handsome romantic Prince Charming type, and then of course the depressed type. But this is like he wasn't bringing out a side of him, he was bringing out someone new.
Yeah.
Like, this is something I've never seen from Colin Farrell before.
Yeah, he did fantastic. Like, that charm, like, you didn't want to mess with him. We do gotta talk about like the walk, the little waddle.
That was hilarious.
Like, I like how they did it. They didn't make it into his character. Like, it was part of his character. It was more of a, listen, this is a little nod to his actual persona, his physical persona, by making him waddle with the tape around his ankles and his wrist. Like, that was perfect.
Like, hey, come on, I'm still right here, fellas.
Exactly, exactly. And it wasn't. I felt like it wasn't forced. It wasn't forced. It was great. But then, like, little by little, you did see that walk, but not as prominent as the 92 version.
Yeah,
like it was a little hint, and I think it played pretty well in his character overall. I really loved it. Did you want to say anything else about Penguin before we move on to the next character?
I know it's still early in the year, and we are gonna see some incredible films this year.
Yeah, we are.
But Colin Farrell should really, really be in the back of everyone's mind as a strong consideration for next year's Oscars, because my God.
I think this whole movie.
This whole thing deserves, like, we'll talk about that, but you know how the Oscars are with genre films. So if they had to just kind of like tune it down to just one specific thing, like Colin Farrell, I don't want to overhype anything, but his Penguin may just be as iconic as Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger's Jokers.
Really?
Like, he brings something different to it, and he makes it his own.
Whoa.
And it was just that memorable for me.
Really?
It was just that memorable for me. He was phenomenal.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would say the same. Just Colin Farrell really killed it. Like, he was, like I said, he wasn't Colin Farrell. Like, you can't tell, because there are certain actors that play the same character all the time. Now, this person, I have to remember if I did see any of their previous work, but what they did in this movie we gotta give props to Paul Dano as Riddler. Holy crap!
Now that's another iconic performance for a villain.
Yes, and we don't want to always compare because we have different iterations of Batman, we have different iterations of Spider-Man, we have different iterations of different villains, but comparing to Jim Carrey, and I love Jim Carrey, I love him with all my heart, but his Riddler has nothing on Paul Dano's Riddler. I
No Riddler does.
That's true.
This is another performance.
Oh my gosh, it was
that
so good.
Is unlike what has come before it. It's just like with Colin Farrell's The Penguin. He does something so different and brings something so different out of it that he's created his own thing. It's his own character now.
Yeah.
It's like he's not like any Riddler you would think of. Now, there are versions of this sort of Riddler in the comics, but he is more of a play on the Zodiac killer. Specifically with the way he looks as well.
Yes, definitely.
And that is one of the things that makes this Riddler so much more terrifying than things you've seen before.
Oh yeah, definitely. He was very smart. He and the way that they do it now, or how they did it now, was he convinced a whole society online to be his followers without him actually saying, "Oh, I see what I did there." But I see what I did there. But no, just the way he didn't have to say like, "You're gonna follow what I say." What he did and what he said, and like the thing is, I like the part where like it was actually like the more normal version of him trying to like him doing a video of like, "Hey guys, thank you for for all of this. I appreciate the support from this community." And I looked at him in the theater. I'm like, I can relate because I'm a streamer, and when I'm making videos, I'm like, "Hey guys," but on stream, I'm like a different, like not different, but I'm more natural with it. But with the recording a video, it's kind of staged and everything, which makes sense because that's what he was doing with his attacks and with everything that he was doing. Everything was staged.
And honestly, before like a quick interrupt, like one thing that we didn't really touch upon is how dark this film is, but there are quite a few moments of levity and comedy that actually work so well. Like they don't feel out of place and it doesn't take you out of the moment. It's just natural. At least it felt natural the way they did it. Like with the Penguin, and it seems to be with the villains that they're doing it, surprisingly, because they're so dark.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, with the Penguin doing his waddle, and like he said, with the Riddler doing his
awkward intro, like it was just awkward.
I'm so glad you guys have been watching.
And it's so awkward because it's like he's just another normal human being who's just like he's not used to the spotlight, which actually plays in the whole thing. This is insane. It's blowing my mind right now, but he's so awkward because he's not used to the attention. He said it himself. He's like, ever since I was a little kid, I was invisible. Nobody knew who I was. And the fact that he has a following now and he's still so awkward, it plays into his childhood because he doesn't know what he's doing, but he has a following because he believes in something so much that people start to believe what he's believing in. And it's insane.
He had this sort of while he's in and you see, okay, so I mentioned before that Batman has two different sort of dual like personas kind of pushing him in different directions, but really with the Riddler it's sort of three, but the Riddler isn't necessarily pushing him in his direction, while actually, let me take that back, he's not pulling him in his direction, but he's trying to push him. Unlike the other two who are trying to pull him, it's more like his dark mirror. Like you said, he didn't know what it was like to be in the spotlight because he was also forced to be an orphan at a young age, which was actually, he was forced to be an orphan around the same time that Bruce Wayne became an orphan. Mm-hmm. And while he was forced to live in this orphanage just off the what is it called, the land, mm-hmm. where his home was, Bruce Wayne's home was, he basically looked up at the hill into this castle where this other orphan was getting all the attention from the media, while these other poor orphans that nobody has heard of because their families weren't really anybody of importance, mm-hmm. nobody cares about them, and they're suffering, slowly dying and starving. So he's like a dark parallel of what Bruce could have become if he didn't have this support system behind him,
Yeah.
and these other people around him, both in his Bruce Wayne persona and his Batman persona,
Yeah.
keeping him balanced.
Yeah.
And Catwoman was one of those who pushes him or pulls him in one direction of his persona, while we have our next character,
Oh my gosh.
our next actor.
Can't wait.
He is the other opposing force that pulls Batman in a different direction, and that is